I'm Keen47, aka Wolfkeen, and welcome to another edition of my My Little Pony vlogs. Now I know what you're about to ask, where am I? I'm actually at my parents' house. And I am going to be eating dinner with them pretty soon. But since, I came here early, I decided to, hang out with my mom for a little bit. But that's beside the point. So I'm going to do the vlog here. Today I am talking about Over a Barrel, written by Dave Polsky. Now, I haven't really seen too many Brony reviewers review this episode. I know of a few, like KP and Buck Brony, doing a review of this episode. I haven't really seen too many other reviews towards this episode in many cases and other stuff like that. So, I don't know what's the general consensus about this episode. Me? I don't like this episode. This is one episode that I don't like, and that's a bit shocking for me because I'm a big fan of Western. I'm a big fan of Western archetypes and Western settings. So, for me not to like this episode, there must be something wrong. Let's get into it. The episode starts with basically Applejack reading a bedtime story to a tree. Apparently, they're transporting this tree called Bloomberg to her cousin's town. So, basically, not a lot happens in this instance. We get, a little quip between Applejack and Rarity. Then we get, the conversation between the main six at night, including one of the most overused memes in the Brony fandom, the Fluttershy wanting to be a tree, and other stuff like that. So, none of that's really apparent. So, we move on to the next day where this herd of buffalo, for some reason, is running alongside the train, and now they start knocking the train around for some reason. Then one of the buffalo, like a really small buffalo, jumps onto the train where Rainbow Dash tries to meet it, and this ends at one point Rainbow Dash flying right into a freaking sign while the train is still in motion. And then the buffalo detached the train cart with the tree inside of it. And Spike was inside that car too because he couldn't stand the main six talking all night. Here's where I have to put the first problem out there that I have with this episode. How? How did the buffalo know the tree was in that train car? Later on in the episode, you find out at one point after. I'll explain it in a little bit, but. How did the buffalo know that the tree was in that train cart, on that train, on this specific day? How did they know? How? Was there a buffalo on the train undercover? Did someone leak information? I don't know. This is one of the inconsistencies that I just can't wrap my mind around. I know a lot of people about to say, oh, it's a kid's show, let it go. It still doesn't help. So, of course, the main six arrive and they meet Applejack's cousin, Brayburn, who welcomes them to... Take it away, Brayburn!
Appaloosa!
Yeah, what he said. So, basically, they arrive in the town of Appaloosa, and basically, they're trying to explain to Brayburn what happened and stuff like that. And then they explain that the buffalo, for some reason, took their tree and took the train cart and other stuff like that. And that's when Brayburn starts explaining the situation where the buffalo have a problem with the trees being built where they are at the moment. And keep telling the Appaloosans, as they call themselves, to move the trees and leave. So we go back to Rainbow Dash, who's basically trying to get to the buffalo, and Pinkie Pie is there for the ride as well. Sorry about that, I didn't mean for that to happen. Anyways, after Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash begin talking with each other, the buffaloes surround them, but they don't attack after Spike calls out. Apparently the buffalo have respect for dragons, but they don't have respect for the ponies. So the buffalo take Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie to their camp where Rainbow Dash meets the buffalo that caused her little incident. So of course, we learn this buffalo's name is Little Strongheart. So after a bit of a conversation goes through, we finally meet the chief. I think Chief Thunderhooves, I think his name was. and we basically learn what happened. Basically, the place where the Appaloosans planted their trees is supposed to be a sacred ground where the buffaloes stampede. So they feel like that the Appaloosans disrespected them by planting these trees there, and now want the Appaloosans to move these trees elsewhere. So Rainbow Dash decides to go with the buffalo and try to figure out the situation, to figure out something to do. As the main six, as the remainder of the main six were getting ready to go find Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie, well, Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash came back to town with Little Strongheart. And this is where I run into another problem I have with this episode. If you pay attention to this part, you'll notice that Little Strongheart and Brayburn are actually, willing to talk with each other. Now, I know they're not the leaders of the group, but they are very prolific members. Think about it. I'm pretty sure Brayburn was the co-founder of Appaloosa, and I'm pretty sure Little Strongheart is second in command in the buffalo herd. So they're both very influential members in their group. Their word could probably fix this situation if they actually talk to each other. But my problem is that the main six won't shut the fuck up at this point. Because, Brayburn's talking about, oh, yeah, I'd be willing to talk. And then Rainbow Dash comes out of nowhere trying to blather her bull. And then, Little Strongheart's like, yeah, I'd be willing to talk. And then Applejack comes in spouting her bull. And then it's just Applejack and Rainbow Dash spouting bullshit against each other. And just making the situation a lot worse than it needs to be. Because it was proven that Little Strongheart and Brayburn were willing to talk to each other. But instead, you have Rainbow Dash and Applejack going against each other in a battle that they don't even have to. So now we move on to Pinkie Pie having an idea where she does one of the worst songs in Season 1, the You Gotta Share song. I hate this song with a burning passion, and that's just being honest. It's a good message, yes, but the context wasn't there. That's the thing. The context was not there. Hell, even the Appaloosans and Buffalo said this is the worst song they ever heard in their life, and decided that if the Appaloosans don't move, the Buffalo are going to stampede right through the town. And the Appaloosans say they better bring it because we're going to be standing our ground. And of course, at this point, now their second in commands aren't even getting any influence at this point. Look, if they were able to resolve the situation in a different way earlier on, I'm pretty sure they would have been able to, talk it over. But instead, because of half of the stuff they were doing, they ended up making the situation a lot worse than it needed to be. And this is the main six's fault. So, of course, Rainbow Dash is still siding with the Buffalo, and Applejack is still siding with the Appaloosans. So, of course, we see both sides of the demographic preparing for this battle. So, basically, the next day occurs, and the Buffalo are ready to battle, and the Appaloosans are ready to defend. At one point, however, Little Braveheart was actually able to calm down Chief Thunderhooves. At the point, he probably wouldn't have attacked. He probably would not have attacked right there. But what happens? Pinkie Pie starts singing her You Gotta Share, You Gotta Care song, which drives Thunderhooves right over the edge, and then he initiates the attack. Again, this is playing into effect that the main six are making this situation worse. Think about it, guys. If the main six weren't in this situation, it probably would have been resolved without them. Honestly, think about it. The main six caused the argument between Little Strongheart and Brayburn at one point. Pinkie Pie was the reason why the Buffalo attacked, even though they were going to back off. That song was what drove the Buffalo over the edge in many cases. So, of course, we get our battle between the Buffalo and the ponies, and it's actually very interesting to see this battle because it is very reminiscent of Western stuff. Using hay bales for cover, some of the comedic stuff like an anvil being in there, them actually throwing apple pies at the Buffalo, which I don't know how that works. And then at one point, the sheriff almost gets attacked by Chief Thunderhooves, and then he gets hit in the face with a pie. And then everyone's crying like he died. I was like, guys, that was an apple pie. That wouldn't... So what happens next is that Chief Thunderhooves eats the apple pie, and then he comes up with an idea. his idea is that if the Appaloosans create a path for them, they will not destroy their trees as long as they get some of their apple pies. So what you're telling me is that this easily resolved situation, which wouldn't have happened if the main six didn't butt in, got resolved because of an apple pie hitting the guy in the face. What did Voice of Reason say about Meriwether Williams about some of her videos? I mean, about some of her episodes that she's written? The fourth Williams trope? Well, that's exactly what happens in this episode. A bull anti-climax. This climax is so freaking stupid, it's ridiculous. To be honest, this situation could have been resolved if the main six weren't even in this episode. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, they have to have the main six in the episode. No, they don't. There are plenty of episodes where you don't have to have main characters in there. Or you don't even have to have focused main characters in there. Don't believe me? Avatar: The Last Airbender has done this on several occasions. Many other cartoons out there has done this on several occasions where they didn't even have main characters in there. They just had side stories and stuff like that. You could do episodes like this. It's not that bad. And honestly, that's what they should have done with this episode. The main six should not have been in this episode. This episode should have been about just the Appaloosans and the Buffalo trying to resolve their situation together. Because honestly, they could have. Brayburn and Little Strongheart were willing to talk to each other. But the main six is what drove them into further and further problems. Because think about it. Strongheart wanted to resolve the situation. Applejack decided to butt in. Freaking Brayburn wanted to solve the situation. Rainbow Dash butt in. If none of them were here, they could have probably resolved the entire situation, saving us the entirety of 15 minutes. This episode could have been resolved in 10 minutes flat. Maybe 5. And that's being honest. This episode could have been resolved in 5 to 10 minutes flat. So honestly, I'm saying it. This episode did not need to exist in many cases. I know a lot of people are going to go on me about that, but it's true. I really feel like this episode does not need to exist. The only reason I don't qualify this as a hated episode is because of the Western setting. I like Brayburn as a character, and I like the Buffalo. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't like this episode. I don't like this episode, but there are certain things I do like about this episode that prevents it from being in the hated category. So you will not see this in my top 5 worst episodes. So all in all, over a barrel, I don't like this episode. Honestly, the main six should not have even been in this episode. That's being brutally honest. If you think differently, alright, fine, I'll go with you. But you all have to concede with me. The main six made the situation worse than it needed to be. Applejack and Rainbow Dash made it worse. Pinkie Pie made it worse twice over. The only ones who didn't make the situation worse were Fluttershy, Rarity, and Twilight. They were the only 3 in the episode who didn't make the episode worse than it was. Not the episode itself, just the situation. But I already talked enough about this. Anyways, guys, that's my vlog of Over a Barrel. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time for my next My Little Pony vlog. So until next time, take care.